I'm Billy S, welcome to the channel. Today we're ranking the bosses of Lies of P Overture. NeoWiz has knocked it out of the park with a brilliant DLC that was completely worth the wait. It expands upon the base game, fleshing out aspects of the story that were only touched upon in notes, allowing us to live through the events like the Monad Charity House tragedy, or allowing us to see just how comically evil the alchemists were before Simon Manus came to power. And throughout our adventure, we have 8 bosses to contend with across the 5-chapter runtime. All of them feel unique, with fleshed out movesets, gorgeous arenas, great OST accompaniments, and they give me so much faith in whatever this studio does next. Given the Lies of P developers got a massive bonus to their paychecks, more paid annual leave, and a bunch of Nintendo Switch 2s, it's just great to celebrate a studio's work which clearly cares for their employees. No layoffs here. Now, before we start, I streamed this entire playthrough of Overture on Twitch, however, due to Twitch's current guidelines, they no longer save streams for more than a week. So if you want to catch my full playthrough of Lies of P Overture, or potential future games I decide to stream, hop on over to my Billy VODs channel here on YouTube, where all the major streams will be exported over. Also, quick warning, my raw gameplay footage for the Krat Zoo area didn't save correctly, so for the Tyrannical Predator and Marchiona entries, you have to deal with my PNG tuber in the bottom right of the screen. I'm sorry about that. Let's jump right in, ranking all 8 bosses in Lies of P Overture based on my personal enjoyment. Let me know which bosses you liked in the comments below. At number 8, we have the Tyrannical Predator, the first boss of the DLC found at Krat Zoo, who took 7 attempts to defeat. And I've got to admit, this was a rough start for the boss roster of Overture, though the lore is pretty interesting. This mutated crocodile was once the pet of Colonel Little, owner of the zoo, but as we discover from various notes, it was believed that Rex the crocodile killed his owner and mutated into what we see today. However, it was actually the alchemists who finished off Colonel Little, blaming it on the crocodile and killing off the taxidermist who could have proven this conspiracy. These alchemists are messy, man. Eventually, we make it to the end of the Savannah Zone, where the crocodile awaits in a snow-swept enclosure. On paper, this should be a fun boss, a giant crocodile with gnashing teeth and fast attacks that should feel great to parry. Ironically though, it's the complete opposite experience, as parrying is generally a bad idea in this fight, with dodging being a more effective strategy for avoiding the croc's various dives. The bites do a lot of damage initially, plus you barely get room to breathe between each attack chain, and most egregiously, the camera here is atrocious. You'll get pinned against the walls of the arena and the camera will force you into the model of the boss, and this will likely cause your death. Now, I do like the boss's grab attack where it chomps you down, lifts you up, and yeets you away, and I do think that the more limited moveset with only a small handful of combos can be learned fairly quickly. It's just a very punishing fight if you fail, and not in the fun way. This boss reminds me of Adel in Elden Ring Night Rain and the Golden Hippo from Shadow of the Erdtree, creatures that charge at you with jaws outstretched, swinging their maws to the left and right to destroy their victims. But unlike those fights, which give the player some downtime between combos, the Tyrannical Predator does not. I originally tried to beat this boss with DLC weapons I'd collected, but eventually I just got a bit sick of the camera and switched to my Puppet Ripper, which was the weapon I was best with in the base game, and immediately I won the fight. Sometimes just having a good weapon with some strong fable arts to break out is enough to claim victory. I could have learned this fight more than I did, but I really couldn't be asked to put up with the downsides. Luckily, the DLC bosses only get better from here. At number 7, we have the pre-metamorphic Green Hunter, the 5th boss of the DLC, found within the Ancient Ruins excavation site, who took 2 attempts to defeat. This is a secret optional boss who can only be fought if you drop into this secret passage while heading down one of the elevators. I love the build up here as you head down a darkened cave, the roars of some unknown creature echoing across the rocks, then suddenly the floor collapses and you land in an arena strewn with puppet corpses and the small form of the Green Hunter in the corner. While the boss does have similar moves compared to its base game variant, Green Monster of the Swamp, the pre-metamorphic Green Hunter is a lot more aggressive and focuses on trying to decay you as quickly as possible. A lot of the moves will feel similar, such as the digging underground attack, the tendrils that whip at you as it waddles backwards, the decay vomit spew, and the red charge attack. But this boss has a few new tricks up its sleeve to really put the hurt on our Carlo, with his most deadly attack being a piercing grab, which will decay you if you don't have the amulet that makes you immune to the status effect, and more importantly, it heals the boss, and any boss that can heal is a deadly one to face. On my second attempt, I came in with the Fire Grinder at the ready, plus the brand new Archie's Guardian Sword, which was one of my favourite new weapons in the DLC, as if you activate its blade skill, you can finally dodge to your heart's content with a Blink Bolt style of movement that can get you out of an enemy's range at a moment's notice. Thank you, Luxasia! Between this and my usage of the Icarus Legion arm, plus a liberal amount of panic healing and damage dealing, I was ultimately able to come out on top in this fight. Honestly, if you're gonna reuse a boss from the base game, this is the way to do it. An optional encounter that's a fun treat for fans of the Green Monster of the Swamp, while offering a look into the past of one of the toughest fights in the original game. In fact, in my recent replay of Lies of P to prepare for this DLC, nothing killed me more than the Green Monster. So the PTSD of finding its younger self was real, as yes, when you get the Green Hunter to a low enough health threshold, it flees, confirming that it is the same character from the base game. No wonder it was pissed when it saw us in the Barren Swamp. At number 6, we have Lumakio, Leader of the Bastards, the 7th boss of the DLC, found at the Archon Fleet shipwrecks, who took 4 attempts to defeat. The base game of Lies of P is fantastic, but one area where it really flopped were most of the Stalker fights. These are effectively this game's NPC/invader type battles you get in Soulsborne. They were basic, easy to read, even easier to break, and they all landed exceptionally low on the Lies of P boss rankings. So Overture took that personally, because they made not one, but 2 extremely well-designed Stalker fights. Lumakio may be in 6th place, but the depth of his battle left me really impressed, and I can't wait to replay the DLC so I can reface him. It's actually quite sad that he's not refightable as a battle memory, because he has a lot more depth than the other Stalkers. He's also the canonical wielder of the Etiquette umbrella, and I was so happy to see what kind of person used that weapon. It truly is the gentleman's blade of choice. Lumakio has 2 phases to his fight. The first sees him using various umbrella combos to knock you down. He doesn't give you a lot of breathing room and has some devastating attacks like his red charge and a lot of combo variants. After you get him down in health a little bit though, he'll chug an elixir from the alchemists that heals him, while also giving him a few extra combos he can throw at you. I found him to be a lot of fun here, as he doesn't give you any distance, which practically demands that you parry his attacks or overwhelm him with high damage Fable Arts. Either strategy works, and I'm quite partial to the latter, I must say. I donned my Puppet Ripper so that I could have some ranged utility in the fight, and it worked like a charm. That is, until he mutates. Yes, the cure he drinks from the alchemists actually causes Lumakio to mutate! Who could have seen that coming? He pulls a Father Gascoigne, with the latter half of his fight being this ferocious barrage of high damaging, yet more predictable carcass attack patterns. The umbrella is gone, tragic. The claws come out, okay. And he gains a weakness to fire, cool, that I took full advantage of. This was a fight where the Nameless Puppets badge was a necessity, as Decay is truly a run-ender if it procs, especially with how weapon durability is so much more brutal in the DLC compared to the base game. It's always good to have 2 weapons at the ready instead of just your first one. A lot of players don't like this fight, as Lumakio is so aggressive that he serves as a major difficulty spike to overcome, and I do see that viewpoint to an extent, but I think his moveset is very well designed, and I suspect with some practice, people will begin destroying him in a few weeks, if not already. I chose to kill him after the fight, though I was leaning towards leaving him alive, but my chat convinced me to just pull the trigger. I actually think he's one of my favourite characters in this DLC. He's such a fully realised person with flaws that he recognises and fights against. He's a self-professed coward and will tell you as much, as that ultimately reflects in how he bends to Simon's will and becomes the alchemist's personal lapdog. Neil Newbin was a perfect casting choice for this role, but he's not my favourite Stalker fight from the DLC because, oh, there's someone else, we'll get to her in a couple entries. At number 5, we have the two-faced Overseer, the 4th boss of the DLC, fought at the end of the Zelator underground facility, who took 2 attempts to defeat. The two-faced Overseer is the last creature standing in this alchemist outpost, a disturbing creature who shifts between 2 distinct personalities based on which way its 2 faces are facing. When green, we have the basic moveset with a lot of slow heavy swings, a few spins, and a very cool axe that I wish we could have gotten as a weapon. There isn't anything too crazy about this moveset, but I really love that we have a slow, lumbering boss fight, as most of Lies of P's roster involves very hard-hitting enemies and fast-hitting enemies that don't leave a lot of downtime. The two-faced Overseer, meanwhile, gives you so much. The real challenge here comes when you damage the boss enough to anger it. It turns red with power, and all its combos and attacks become more deadly. Not only are there more hits per string, but there are a lot more red perilous attacks you need to perfect parry as well. Managing the boss as it shifts between its green and red states is key to victory here, and having just come off of Libra in Elden Ring Night Rain, who has a similar gimmick, I found myself kind of at home with the Overseer. Of course, the main reason this fight is so cool is because you can summon the tracker, Alidoro, to fight alongside you. As we get access to this fight in the game's battle memory system where you can take the boss on solo, I was more than happy to summon him and enjoy the spectacle, taking on the Overseer alongside my unofficial husband. This was something I really enjoyed about the DLC. They really gave you a higher sense of camaraderie by letting you fight alongside specific characters. And while it does mitigate the difficulty of these battles, once again, you can refight them solo from Hotel Krat after beating them, so you don't have to worry about replaying the whole game again to retry the fight solo. But I have to admit, I was hoping for a little extra sauce at the end of this fight. Like somehow there's a third state when it reaches 30% health that introduces a couple extra attacks to deal with. That would have made this boss peak, and likely landed it slightly higher on this list. What we got though was still really fun, and I could see this being a comfort fight as the easiest to perfect parry of the DLC battles. I especially love the way this boss dies, with the head straight up exploding as Alidoro wishes the boss's spirit to rest. Such a good way to end the Zelator level for sure. At number 4, we have Veronique, leader of the Sweepers, the 3rd boss of the DLC, fought in the cooling room of the Zelator underground facility, who took me 3 attempts to defeat. Veronique is my 2nd favourite Stalker fight in Lies of P, next to the first Black Rabbit Brotherhood fight from the main game, and I think it's because she just has an insane amount of aura. The ram gas mask, combined with the heavy-duty coat and the giant fucking boom hammer, leaves quite the impression on the player, both figuratively and literally. We've seen this type of fighter before across the Soulsborne and Souls-like universes, but my god does Veronique have style. From some well-acted voice lines to the absolutely terrifying weapon that looks like a furnace engine atop a stick, to the fact she can lift it without any trouble, this is a strong woman, and by god we need more strong women. Her signature attack is her spin to win, where she blasts flames out of the weapon and just goes zooming towards us in a Beyblade circle of death. Of course, these attacks are very predictable with what could be considered an easier parry timing, but when you add on to the fact that every time she slams her hammer down, she's able to create a burst of flame from the head, it keeps you at bay and unable to punish every move. Her hammer also works as a regular flamethrower, and it's hot, 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 breathing blue flames that can overheat you in seconds. Her damage output is also off the charts. She can flippy dippy your shitty all over the city, and she just leaves such a fantastic impression in my face. I ended up resorting to the bow for a lot of the fight, as keeping her at range and pelting her with arrows was a genuinely good strategy for me. She's easier to evade than Lumakio, for example, and with my Puppet Ripper to hit her if she gets close, or to get a stun on her from afar, I was feeling pretty good about this fight. I really want to learn it properly on my next attempt of the DLC, and I'm so sad that we don't get to refight her in the battle memories. If anyone at NeoWiz is watching this, can we please get her and Lumakio included in these battle memories, and maybe have her weapon added in a free future update, because it's actually criminal that we don't get to use it when it could be the best motivity / advanced weapon in the game if it were wieldable. She just has so much presence, and then discovering that she was fighting the infection inside her all along, having been lured down here by Lumakio, just makes it all the more tragic when we finally put her to rest. But we get her costume, which is one of the best in the DLC, and you know what? If you guys are interested, I'd love to rank the cosmetics in a video based on how much they serve. At number 3, we have Marchiona, Puppeteer of Death, fought in the greenhouse at Krat Zoo, who took 10 attempts to defeat, the most of any boss for me. Marchiona is a shining light for the alchemists, taking on a role of ruler as she attempted to progress their teachings with her own zealous creations. But Marchiona is ultimately just a bit player in this story, and I think that irony is part of why I love her character. She is so full of herself, she has literally prepared everything she has to fight Leia Florence, the legendary stalker, and yet she never gets the opportunity to fight her, for we show up and ruin the party. Marchiona is a puppeteer who can fight by herself with the power of Ergo, as she uses various orbs to attack the player. She controls them via her gloves, the same fit that Geppetto uses to control the nameless puppet in the base game, and while she's attacking us with her orbs and melee strikes, her queen's archi-puppet is also attacking us. When the puppet attacks, she hangs back as she has to control her puppet to do all the damage, but the only way to win the fight is to finish off Marchiona herself. Her servant doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, only serving to get in your way of the real objective. You either have to focus on Marchiona or the puppet, and if you deplete the health of her aid, she'll be forced to take her time to revive it. Here, you want to do all the damage you can to Marchiona, and if you know how to parry her combos, you'll potentially be able to end the fight right here. Otherwise, you have to deal with a special dual attack where both Marchiona and her aid attack at the same time with her signature move. Then the fight resets to its original state, but with Marchiona being a tad bit stronger. The challenge here comes from needing to switch between targets to whomever is actively trying to kill you at any given time. I think with a lot of practice this could become second nature and is a really interesting way of creating a gank fight. Lies of P never shied away from trying to create different feeling multi-boss fights in the base game with the Brotherhood fights, and here they continue this approach with an entirely unique puppeteer mechanic. However, with how finicky the lock-on system can be at times, Marchiona is a little rough around the edges. She makes a fantastic entrance, is certainly memorable enough, though don't listen to my stream chat, I totally didn't keep forgetting her name every single stream, I would never. It's a shame that her boss weapon doesn't really incorporate her Ergo orbs, instead opting for a Wolverine-style pair of claws. But hey, it's a small price to pay. Marchiona starts off this DLC with a bang, and as people get better at the fight, I think high-level Marchiona play is going to look off the charts. At number 2, we have the Anguished Guardian of the Ruins, the 6th boss of the DLC, fought at the end of the Ancient Ruins excavation site, who took me 9 attempts to defeat. Despite having a rather unmemorable name, the boss itself is one of the most memorable of the DLC and Lies of P in general. This is because it is one of the biggest fights in the game, this colossal beast who towers over Carlo, and yet the camera in this fight works perfectly the whole time, which is so rare when it comes to beast bosses in Souls-likes. So just for that, it gets a high ranking from me. The combos for Phase 1 are inherently pretty simple, and you not only have the ability to block them, but dodging is actually an effective strategy here. I like to stick beneath the boss, giving me opportunities to attack his face after one of his 3 or 4 hit combo strings. He uses gangly arms and a giant dagger and trident. The dagger is more dangerous with it being featured in most combos, but that trident can certainly poke you a couple times as well, and you might recognize said trident as one of the boss weapons from the base game that you get from Archbishop Andreas. Interesting lore tidbit, perhaps. Something I really like is how the boss has 2 weak spots on his head and his left hand. They're these horns that stick out of the flesh, yet if you strike them enough with attacks, they shatter and stagger the boss so you can get more damage in. The Icarus Legion arm was perfect for this, as it does so much quick build-up damage to the weak spots that it became a focal point in my stunning strategy. But of course, the boss gets stronger, buffing its dagger with holy energy from its god, the very same that blessed Simon during our boss fight with him. Now the Anguished Guardian obtains a series of laser beams which can sweep both horizontally and vertically across the arena. These are free if you can avoid them, but I had a little trouble compared to those same beam types in regular Souls games. His Red Perilous attack, where he tries to slam down on you, also now has a follow-up where he staggers back then falls down again. It's little additions like this to his already existing combos that really make the boss fun to fight. Then add his signature dagger move that creates a holy AoE explosion after he plunges it into the ground, and you have a really solid moveset that builds upon itself as the fight progresses to create something truly spectacular. This is the formula that big bosses should strive for, and I think it's one of Lies of P's crowning achievements. But we're not done. We're not done just yet. At number 1, we have Arlecchino, the Blood Artist, the final boss of the DLC, fought in the Rose Garden of the Monad Charity House, whom I beat on my very first attempt. Now, to preface that achievement, I completed this fight with Leia, my reasoning being that Arlecchino's fight would be unlocked later as a battle memory, meaning I can still go and get that solo win at a later date. And just because Leia is on your side, that doesn't mean that Arlecchino goes down easy. In fact, my Twitch chat was constantly surprised at just how close I came to death, yet still somehow managed to pull out a victory. But to set the stage, Arlecchino is one of the best characters in the game, and having the opportunity to fight him was something I think we all wanted from the base game, but discovering just how he fed into the tragedy of the Rose estate and the fates of Romeo and Leia, this was a heavy lore drop that completely recontextualized everything we knew about the base game. From Romeo's kidnapping, to Leia's sickness, to Arlecchino's massacre, it all leads to this. And I love that the first phase is us fighting him in a goddamn fancy coat while he styles himself like Vanini, and he's wearing the skinned face of some poor, unfortunate victim. I made the comment on stream that his Phase 1 fighting style is very reminiscent of the Thumerian descendant from Bloodborne, with the same posture and similar weapons, but then he ditches that as the real fight begins in Phase 2. That transition cutscene, I'm just gonna play my honest reaction from the stream. It says more than I ever could here. Yeah, that's the Arlecchino I recognize. Oh fuck, he's got Radahn hair. Oh, fuck me. Holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck, holy fuck. Bro! Arlecchino's signature move is this giant blood tornado, whipping up skulls of red and firing them at you and Leia before diving down and releasing a second whipped up vortex, and you think, wow, that was crazy! But then he keeps going with a frantic 10-hit melee combo that ends with a whirlwind of fire. My chat was shocked to see me survive that attack, not once, but twice. Arlecchino in his new design, by the way, absolutely insane. He's got the fiery red bloody hair that acts as a cape, he has assassin-style blades that can cut someone open with insane sharpness, and 2 buzzsaws on top of his shoulders for maximum gore. His melee combos are insane, but definitely learnable. Balancing his aggro between Leia and I while I frantically built up Fable meter with charges to do my powerful Puppet Ripper triangle art was some of the most fun I've had in Lies of P. I am a glass cannon, and I will spam all my hard-hitting attacks if there's even a chance at victory. And the fact Leia and I beat Arlecchino while I wielded a weapon designed after him is poetry in motion. I was also very lucky to get a stagger on him mid-fight, which allowed me to see that beautiful cutscene riposte of Leia and Carlo working together in harmony to destroy this man. It is the best stagger in this game, bar none. And while I didn't get to witness it, I did see footage of his grab on you, which is the most brutal thing I've ever seen. I'm sure I'll be experiencing it solo at some point. That ending though, where Leia passes you her weapon and you slice Arlecchino down, it was the cherry on top. Using the vows contained within her rose blade, you sever his limbs the same way Leia did years before, and eventually bring him down. This is cinema. This is perfection. And as this video is airing, I'm currently live on Twitch attempting to beat Arlecchino the Blood Artist solo without Leia. So if you want to come and watch me get my ass handed to me, then click the link in the description or type the URL you see on screen right now. I'm so happy I got to play this fight live. There was such an electricity in the air, and I'm so grateful I got to experience this DLC with you all. Arlecchino, welcome to the big leagues. And that's my list. Which Lies of P Overture boss is your favorite? Let me know down below, and be sure to parry that subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all my future videos. You can follow me at my social medias on screen now. I've got a Blue Sky, I've got a Twitch, I've got a Discord, links down below, and a massive shout out to my YouTube channel members for supporting me for another month. You guys are amazing. It's $4.99, you get a shout out in the description at the end of every video, you get a special role in my Discord, and you get sometimes special secret Let's Plays. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Adios.